Hey everybody, and welcome back. This week on Tattoo Collectables, we've got a little bit of mail, and then we're going to do the rest of the Nate Harmon trip to Muncie. I realized because of a couple of comments that everyone made last week that I didn't actually show any of the collection. I did that on purpose. I was waiting until this week and we were going to show his collection this week. Honestly, his collection is immense and we barely scratched the surface on it. So we did get some really cool stuff to show you, but let me tell you, it's barely anything from his collection. So that being said, we'll see that here in a second. But first, you know what's going on. What's in the mail? Okay, first thing this week we are going to open came from Europe. I'm gonna shake it down a little bit so I don't cut whatever's in here in half. That would not be good. My pink scissors are incredibly sharp and they will take the stuff right off the side. Okay, so for those of you who have seen the show before, I'm pretty sure you know what's coming. A lot of the things that come from Europe are the same. As again. So I again saw a set of Churchman cards. Well, let's see, that's 50, so we'll leave those bundled up. So I saw another set of Churchman cards, and you know what I say, when you see them, buy them. This was another one, and this is the just for those of you who know, these are the 1938, not the 2019. And honestly, I love it when they do this. They put them in order. So we go through to number 7. And number 7 is just a beautiful George Burchett card. Now, if you've seen the first episode of Tattoo Collectables, you know all about this card. If not, go back and watch the first episode. I explain in detail what these are and how important they are. And they're fairly easy to get, as you can tell by watching this show, because I do get a ton of them. I think this is number 8 or 9. All my guys have one. This is just something that it's just cool to have. Get you one if you can find one. Here in the very near future. Now, when I order these, they come with 50 other cards from 1938. And these are cool too. They're just not tattoo oriented, so I don't really save these. I do hold them back though, because from 1938 to now, the copyright on these have gone out. So you can actually use the images on these for pretty much whatever you like. Every time I get 49 extra in this set of different things. There's magicians, there's all kinds of people in these. One of these days, I'm gonna give a bunch of those away. If you'd like one, hit a comment on this video and see if I don't send you one in the mail. So, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We love new subscribers. We've recently went over 200 subscribers, which thrills me. So, the next thing on our little cutting list today comes from Lynchburg, Virginia. Now, when I saw this thing come up, I was like, I had just been trying to order one from National, and National's out of them. So I don't know that National is going to get any more of these. So when I saw it for sale, I was like, you know, as hard as I think that is about to be to get, I had better get me one while the getting is good. So now this, I'll just toss that stuff right over there. This is a National Tattoo Supply belt buckle. It's made out of pewter. It's got a super nice finish on the front. It's enameled inside of the pewter. And it's got little national tattoo machines each side. Now, I'll absolutely put up a better picture of this. And something I didn't know. Okay, so these are made in the USA. I knew that. But on the back, what holds the little the piece for your belt is an eagle, which I never knew that on the back of them there was a little eagle too. I will definitely put up better pictures of this. This is a super cool collectible. This one I paid around $80 for. When they listed for almost $60. So $80 I didn't think was too bad. It wasn't too big of a bump for it. Now, I do have the 1978 Spalding and Rogers buckle as well. That's what started me collecting the belt buckles. I saw this super cool Spalding and Rogers belt buckle for sale, and I was like, you know what? I don't have any belt buckles from the industry, so let's get that one. So when I saw this one come up, I remembered something that Tuttle told me. He said, if you got one or two, it's not really a collection. If you have three now, three of anything is a collection. So this is my second belt buckle. I will be getting a third. I'm looking at another Spalding and Rogers, the one with the inlay on it. Those are still available. If you want one, spaldingandrogers.com, you can still get those. So that is it for what's in the mail this week. I know it was a super short one, but that's the way it goes sometimes, this close to Christmas. I do have something else coming. It is a Christmas gift, so I don't know whether I'll be showing it on the show prior to Christmas. We went up and saw Nate Harmon's immense collection, and it's a enormous collection. If we had stayed to see all of it, I would still be there, frankly, this week. We would have been there for a couple weeks at least. What we got of it was super cool, and I'm about to show you now. And for those of you who commented the music was a little too loud last week, I do apologize about that. We're going to fix that this week. But check this out. I think you'll dig it. Here's Nate explaining some of his more favorite pieces in his collection.
This is a modified Jonesy that came out of Denver City Tattoo Club. I got it at the swap meet, and but the guy out there had chopped a bunch of these and nickel plated them or chrome plated or whatever, and saved that. This is an old machine over here in the back too that I don't know what it is yet. I rebuilt this one with these coils and shit, and I probably should take it back apart because I couldn't figure out how to get the coils to be low enough, so I had to grind that armature bar. You see how I got that with that spring on that front? It's a real pain in the ass. It'll run now, but that machine's super old. It's like the size of your hand. I don't know what machine it is at all. The Pelican jar, it's from Germany, World War II era. Right before World War II, but it supposedly said all the concentration camp tattooers were tattooed with Pelican ink. And, I used Pelican for years, and Talons. I still love Talons.
Oh, yeah.
And I still use Pelican, but mostly in black and gray. I want to say Doc. That's why my name goes dumb sometimes. Doc. I'm not going to remember the last name. I want to say Doc Webb, but I might be wrong. I'm wrong sometimes. I forget. I say the wrong thing. But that's a cast Jonesy. And that's another Kaplan that somebody else drilled out like that. You see all the big holes, the little holes, lightweight.
And they're already pretty light. They're aluminum.
Yeah, and this is one of the full chuck coastals that actually came from Sailor Barney. That actually had a chuck and it broke. I could cut it, put a new chuck on it, but I leave it for time period. And the one back there came from Seattle Tattoo Emporium, and they recast those. That the guy who owned that cast those because Sailor Barney was out there, and that's the machine they were using out there too. It's the same machine, and that's the Bakelite, S&W, Spalding and Rogers. This is not a national, it's United Power Supply. It looks like something on a Star Trek, doesn't it?
Does,
This
too.
motherfucker shocks you. And then there's the Larry Mora. And this is a lightweight. Remember I showed you the one back there that was sandcast? This one's not sandcast. That was 90s. See how round it is on the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Like, wait, you don't see any divots or pits or any, like, just slightly off. On to Al Shipley. All those machines I got, these were his actual tubes with the wood on them and stuff. This front is an Andy Bolin reproduction. That's a national. These two came out of Felix, Tattoo Felix.
Tahiti
Tahiti
Felix?
Felix shop. Eddie redid the frames, and I'm pretty sure it's a Malroy frame that's been fucking modified. I've only seen one other of this machine right here, and that was in Huck Spalding's collection in at the Spalding factory. And then that's the malleable lightweight that belonged to Pat Martinuik, signed on the back by Pat. And man, I knew what this was the other day, and now I'm going to forget again. Gosh darn it, man. Anyway, this is one of those anomaly Jonesies that I found one time. I'm just going to forget the name right now because I do that. I slip up and then I'll remember it tomorrow.
Right.
So
That's a sign of our age, brother.
oh yeah, man. And so this case here, I had it packed and I've slowly been picking pieces out of it and putting them in other places, but it's sort of a hodgepodge. And that was a Michael Raina piece that was made. That's a machine that runs inside of a tin can, slouted and fucking dog shit. And we got a couple Burt Cracks in there. Like Burt Cracks machines I like, but they're real high tension sprung, and I break springs on them when I turn them up like crazy. I broke all 3 springs, and I'm just like, You know, I like a low tension machine. I can't run something like super fast, even though I like its frames. Yep. And that was I built this machine from spare parts out of the Z's catalog, which shows you how to build a Bakelite, but instead we used an independent. This is before I knew about this guy who was making machines out of independent trucks, but we took an independent truck and milled it flat to put the base plate on the side of it. And basically it's a Z's Bakelite, but I used a fucking independent plate. My grandfather had a mill, so we just milled everything flush and built it from scraps. I actually think the coils on there are from a Chinese machine I got off the street, but they're the Declaration of Independence that are wrapped on there, so I just recycle them. They work great. They're just like, it just had like independent tattoo machine, Declaration of Independence. It works for me, you know.
Now the one behind it, is that a Jonesy squareback?
That's an old Jonesy squareback that's been modified before I had it. It was torn apart, and I got that in a collection from Georgia. And I still need to have that one rebuild or rebuild it. I would like to have that one as a runner, but that machine's super old too, you know. Somebody else had already cut the side off of it. I've had different people tell me because they were trying to match up to what they would do with the lightweight, right? But the way the Jonesy was built, I'm going to tell you, the reason the Jonesy's so fucking awesome is when you have your side pieces like this for your contact in the back. If something's wrong with your machine and you need to unwire it, you can get right to that from the side. Once you cut that back plate off and cut that off to make it more slender, you have to take your coils out completely to get to that. And so you're going to fuck up the whole machine and never run how you have it. Like that right there, you can do if there's some problem with the back coil. You can slide the back coil, unwind stuff, and get it back in there without taking it all apart or taking the armature bar off. You know what I mean? Like, once you start whittling it down like that, you're going to fuck it up when you have to redo it. If something goes wrong, you need to, retune it, because once you've taken it out of alignment and pull that front coil out with that armature bar, you'll never match it back up. You have to flip your armature bar, and like it'll just be a different running machine, you know. I mean, I got this. Well, actually, you guys know the beginning of tattooing. So this doorbell, this one particularly, it's almost exact copy, not quite, of this guy called Electric Getchell. You've heard of him?
I have not.
Electric Getchell and who got the copyright? The O'Reilly. Electric Getchell and O'Reilly worked together, and on Carmen Nyson's site, Buzzworthy, she goes in a full thing, you gotta read it. So, Electric Getchell's known as Electric Getchell, tattooing, I'm gonna assume, with Electric Machine, listed as a tattoo artist, and guess who's the barber in the shop? O'Reilly. Okay, so O'Reilly goes on, and he's like this con man from what I can assume from reading all this information. We didn't know that before. We're all reading the copyrights. This is years later somebody's done the research. That O'Reilly's the barber, but he gets his idea as far as he's using this, but he's going to try to rewrite a copyright. He has to apply for it 3 different times before they accept it. So he gets the first copyright on the tattoo machine in the USA based off Edison's rotary or it's not a rotary.
Inscribing pin.
Yeah, you got it. But he's using coils to push the rotary. So it's in between a coil. It's the two together.
Right.
Like the big battle of the coil versus the rotary. But Electric Getchell gets pissed and tries to copyright this one, and they get into a suing match. They sue each other until they go broke. O'Reilly falls off a ladder, busts his head. His fucking estranged wife sells the shop to Wagner, who's been sued multiple times for tattooing kids underage, who started off in like a sewing factory or something with needles, takes over O'Reilly's place. Getchell's written out of history, ends up in Washington, D.C. But the first Electric Getchell machines that I've ever seen were built off this exact same doorbell model. They just put a base plate on the back of this. It still has a contact on the back. They bend this down, put a tube here, and you're fucking tattooing. That particular one, I have multiple doorbells up, but I got this fucking thing, I don't know, about 6 months ago. And I just built these little things to hold machines in here. So that's a Scott Sterling build on a Bill Moore frame. I had the frame and Scott put it all together for me. It fucking runs like a champ. Ash Swain built this. I had this frame. They nickel plated, built everything by hand, did this full square, full 100% detail by hand. Ash Swain's a badass. That same time period, I showed you this other Scott Sterling machines. This is his Color King, but he had milled out by Spalding and Rogers. That's bent back just a little bit, just like a Jonesy, as a liner. When we talk about modified in Jonesies, and these are all Spalding Rogers. Front one in the back is VK Machines. Michael, up northern Indiana, he builds frame parts and makes parts for people who build machines, like mill fucking holders and all kinds of shit, winders. These two Spalding Rogers are built by Mike Schweigert, and then these three all belong to Al Shipley. You have 4 of his machines, and then you were talking about that raw casting you had of Shipley. This one right here was built by Raff, and that's one of those raw casted Shipleys. The chuck, because they cut that front chuck, because it's so weird on the front, kind of was at an angle.
Yeah.
And they cut it off and they used a Jim Roselle bottom. That machine right there. You see it so down there and at an angle, but that's the same one that you got, the same frame, but that one just been built. I mean, it hasn't just been built, but you know what I mean. Been built compared to the one that's not built. Outside versus like the newer ones when they started coming out with them were all different. Like this is a different shape, but it's the Puma, but you can see how rounded and everything was. Same hardware. They were using that hardware from what I can see all the way from the 70s. I've seen these hex nut or Allen head pieces, you can tell, but you can see the size of the chuck even. And this is a different frame, obviously, but you can just see the little indentures right there, like the things that were slightly different from it. It's that weird lock-in fucking side, but I should have kept a lot of these when I got them, but I sold them off like back in the day, and I don't know, I was just an idiot, you know? Ended up with a bunch of these. These actually came from this other guy that was building a bunch of Zeiss machines. These are the Zeiss bottoms to the bake lights.
Oh yeah, I recognize those.
Yep. And they had taken them apart and they were building one like this out of it. This came from that guy, Ron Bias. Had a whole collection of them.
But yeah, definitely.
I was real into this stuff here. This fucking, actually, you know, here's a really cool machine. It's a JK. Actually, this is a guy from Madison, Kentucky. Chris Brandstetter and Jack Hitton, Dirtbag Jack, man. They build some fucking kick-ass machines.
Was it a 6-wrap?
No, not probably
They look awfully small.
Yeah, little, weren't they? They built all kinds of shit like this, molded, and they built a lot of this is Jay Kelly, and he built an old Northeast. I used this forever until I used it so much that they didn't have a cold in there, so the aluminum came out. It's so sloppy now, it like just cuts out on me. This machine fucking made me a shit ton of money. And but Jack and them do all these. Let's see, all 3 of these are Chris builds and Jack builds. I'm not positive about this one. Nope, I think Chris did this one too. These all 3 are Chris. And then I traded him coils. I had an old Kaplan that he wanted. And this was cut off the piece. This is from this machine. It was cut here, and he put this chuck, and I cut this chuck off of a Joshua Carlton machine that I grinded up as a piece of shit. And I sent him to it, and he used the same piece off this, flipped it up, and then fucking burned all the fucking green off of it. And and he put the Kaplan coils that I really liked back on here. And so some of my friends do that, where it's like super hodgepodge, you know. I was pretty stoked, but I really I had a boner for Jonesies for a minute. Like any way you could modify it. You see how you drill this hole? This one was the same way. I drill a hole there so you can anchor it back so you get a really nice liner. You know what I mean? That's what I think
Now, are those Bill Joneses or are those...
these are national frames.
Oh, nationals,
yeah, they're nationals. But see, this guy turned this one into a swing gate. Right? And then that one they did a collet on a fucking drop in like that. And like I said, this one was from a Joshua Carlton machine that they dropped it out there. You know, your yoke. This is the fucking chuck, which I like. I'm not crazy about collets, but this machine runs good. All these do. Chris is a fucking really good machine builder, but he's in Madison, Kentucky. But I love these, like, I call them rat rods. Within this, I had Scott rebuild the top half. I have the top halves up front in another drawer, but this was a Paul Rogers. It came out of another collection. I get this off Walter, and he got it off of, North Carolina. Oh shoot! I've had 2 beers and lunch since then.
So you say Scott Sterling rebuilt that one?
Yeah, Scott Sterling just did the back half because the guy had messed with the machine. Honestly, this isn't the right front, and he put a different contact screw in here that wasn't right, and the armature bar was stamped and everything, but it's still. He had switched out the screws in the bottom and used these hex nut. When we tried to get these off, they're almost fused in there. And so Clayton, he had it, Bill Clayton. And, he probably messed with it. There's his name, Bill. And he probably switched it out because it was his machine, whatever.
Right.
But they're fused in there now. So in order to get them out, you're probably not busting the wires on this, right? So you could rewrap it. But then at that point, it's really...
It's not a Paul Rogers.
It's getting a little farther down. Even without the original armature bar stamped, I have it. So if I were to sell it, I would tell you that Scott rebuilt it. But you can tattoo a motherfucker with this. He just, he's already heated up this armature bar a whole bunch so its soft was hitting, and he put the new spring on here in the top and this, and that's it. And I have all the parts. If you want to put it back the way it was and just look at it and not be able to run it, it's already was messed with back in the day when the guy got it. Probably like 2 or 3 years afterwards, he probably made it run the way he wanted to.
Right.
And, after 20 or 30 years goes by, well, do you want to run it or just look at it? Because I want to run it. So
right.
Thing's a fucking killer Hummer now, I mean, I like tattooing that one. And then I can show you the other ones up front. This is I just got this one off Hank's, and this was the last, I believe, I don't know the whole entire story, but Larry Hanks and Rich T got pretty much all of Al Shifley's stuff off his son or somebody who was selling it at one time. And Larry said these are the last of them. And a few of my friends have gotten stuff off Larry. And Rich T has a great Al Shifley collection, one of the best. When you go over there, you'll see he has everything from that little shed, all the flash, and a lot of the early Spalding Rogers flash was actually drawn by Shifley and his friend. I'm going to forget the guy's name, but I could look it up. But Huck bought it, and the first catalog is it's all Shifley and his buddy. That's where that flash came from. So, this was his machine. These are sandcasts, and I have 2 of these gung hos. The other one I have, this one's Al Shifley's, and the other one I love these. The fucking the malleable lightweight. It's basically a malleable, which is basically the sandcast lightweight, which is underneath here. But they drilled them out, and I've heard rumors that when they're crooked like this, Paul drilled them out. Don't know. I don't know for a fact, but I do know for a fact it was owned by Al. It's been molested. I don't think this is the original armature bar or spring on there as a motherfucker, but I believe all this shit is. This is fucking a Jonesy fucking back piece, and I'm pretty sure these are Jonesy coils unwrapped, but I'm gonna have this one rebuilt to run. The other one I have that's a malleable lightweight belonged to Pat Martinewick, and it runs and I can tattoo with it. So I'd love to be able to tattoo with Al Shifley's and Pat Martinewick's malleable lightweights. Yeah, they've been altered to run with, but they were their frames, right. 100%. You know what I mean? So, however that takes out. And then I have a fucking, this is a fucking great machine. If you know who Timmy Tats is.
Oh, yeah.
The original Timmy Tats. His Coleman liners, this motherfucker is a zapper. This will fucking tattoo your bones if you want it to. They go through the flesh into the bone. That's a fucking great runner. It's a little weird how far out these things stick because your spring cord's almost out here when you're tattooing, so it's a little awkward. And that's a Black Beauty that's been rebuilt, S&W. Almost all my shit I like rebuilt so I can tattoo with it because I don't know what's the point of having it if you can't.
It's like having a car you can't drive.
100%. And this machine, see the bottom of it, Wayne Tudor, I'd sold it. I had owned this machine. I got it from Dennis Dwyer. The whole armature bar and everything looked like somebody, I don't know who had done what with it. And I asked Dennis, he said he didn't know where he'd got it from, but he'd had it for so long. He was liquidating a bunch of stuff several years ago, and I bought it. And another one came up, another Jensen. They're kind of common. They're not super common, but you can find one. Mm-hmm. and it was better condition, right? And I didn't know. I'm looking at this cut, and I think it's Scott, but I'm not sure. This thing looked way rougher. The whole top half, everything here was all fucked up looking. And I sold it to buy another one. And then I was positive it was Scott's, and I regretted it because I just love
Right.
Scott Sterling's machines. So I told Wayne when I sold him, I'll buy this back from you anytime you go to sell it. He went to sell it, and he was going to sell it for more. I just happened to catch it the day he sold it. I was like, hey man, I told you I would buy it. He goes, all right. I paid him the same money I sold it to him for, like 3 or 4 years later. He sent it to me, and Wayne's a killer dude, man. And I sent it to Scott immediately to have fucking rebuilt. I'm like, get this thing running again, dude. He's like, and Scott said, I'm not sure if I did or didn't. He can't remember. He's not the only one that's done cuts like that, but he's one of the only ones that I remember really doing cuts like that I know of. There's a few other guys, but, it's a telltale sign.
Malone did that too, didn't he?
That's right, but he's from the same school as fucking Scott's from that school, and so yeah, I sent it back to him. Somebody also milled off the shelf a little bit, which I thought was a telltale sign, but I don't, I still don't know. But Scott went ahead and reworked and got it running again. I love shading with this thing, man. I've done so many tattoos of this motherfucker, like it's heavy, and I fucking love it. It's also a little telltale sign. Like on Jensen's machines, he would always use these great big fucking lugs. They can see that little insulator there. I don't know if you can see it real well. But these lugs are like, came off like fucking like refrigerators or something. They're like industrial looking. You know what I mean? The way they crimp compared to anything else I've ever seen. Scott did cut some of that loose to put this on there, but I'd much rather have a runner. I've had to run emery board underneath of there, or emery paper a couple times to, even right now, might need to do it again because I used the fuck out of this machine. It's made a lot of money. But it's a fucking Hummer, man. I had to drill that hole the rest of the way through there, too. And I have no qualms about that, man. This machine. We were talking about, this is a Michael Reyna. I don't think the dude tattoos, or he doesn't tattoo, but this casting was the Tattoos by Lou, this little bitty trimmed down machine.
Looks like a small Supreme.
100% whittled down. That's how they did them. It's at South Florida Tattooing. And the machine runs pretty good. I mean, actually it runs great. I think it's Jason Haney coils. I think that's right. I got this in a trade. Some dude in Indianapolis quit tattooing. He sold me 4 machines for $100 a piece, and I'll buy them all. So I bought it. I don't know as much about it as I should. I emailed Mike Arena, who had cast these frames, who had the original mold, and he'd give me information. So if I said something wrong, I could go back and look it up. I'm just remembering, and it's been 4 or 5 years since I've talked to him.
Oh, right on.
I just picked it up by chance. But I was glad to have a little piece of South Florida, even if it's a recast, a little bit of that South Florida-like knowledge, or machine. But I don't have some coils. I got one of business bowling riders. I don't have a ton of machines. Like, none of this is all just crap, This is fucking Cesta Ferry when he did a bunch of these little ones. I had 3 of these at one time and sold them.
Some Zeiss knockoff.
Yeah. And then, my fucking... Everybody, I think, went through the workhorse irons.
I still use them.
This machine, though, it's pretty cool. Cesta Ferry. But this belonged to my friend Dave Legale, and Dave passed away not too long ago, and my friend made sure, I was like, I really like his daily liner. My friend got his stuff, and I just Dave was a friend, and so I just leave it as is. It runs great. If I need to do a Dave ship, he loved doing ships, and if I need to do a Dave ship, I would use that machine, but most of these stay back here, because they're not really what I call like prized possessions, tradable. This is a Bernard machine. If you guys know who Shannon Hall is.
I've got a Bernard, yep. I've got a Bernard Paul Rogers copy.
Yeah, well, I love it.
I love them, yeah. They run like shit.
This
I
one,
like the look of it.
the majority of them, a lot of them run like crap, but this one ran fucking great for years. Well, this is one of Shannon's Hall. Might be his first machine he ever bought brand new, and Shannon's tattooed almost 20 years now. And so some of my friends, I have some of their machines of their first off that I would trade them just to get because they're like running crappy. They wanted something different to try out. I end up with it, and yeah, I'm not gonna let it go either. But
So you're like, I'm gonna take that just because.
Well, I mean, like we're in our own time period. So you imagine your friends that you started off with,
Right.
that now maybe they're really good tattooers and they've almost tattooed 30 years now, and you have one of the first machines they ever had.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
hey, I've still got my first two.
40 years from now, somebody might be interested. They might have got their
Right.
first tattoo by that dude, or like got their whole sleeve, and that guy started the reason they wanted to become a tattooer. I'm
Right.
like, hey, would you like to have their first machine? That's how stuff becomes collectible, though, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that kind of thing like that, ever. And, I used to like work on all my machines, and I'd rebuild them and keep them going. And then at some point, I just quit and started buying other machines. This is a crazy ass machine here. This is one I was telling you about stolen. This was stolen from the shop, and I got it back. When I got it back, it looked like it'd been dipped in someone's butthole or something. You know?
damn.
All fucked up. I made so much money off this one. The same kid I got this one from, Craig, I give this to me as a gift. And when it got stolen, I was so fucking pissed. I was irate, man. And someone stole it out of the shop. And I contacted them to have it rebuilt, but I just left it. It has a little history to it. This one was a machine that came off the street, and I probably wouldn't even... A lot of shit I get off the street, but I probably wouldn't even bought it except for it was an E-coil. And I've always been fascinated by the E-coil, so I was like, it's a cool one to come in off the fucking street, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still think it's like a technical tattoo supply or some shit like that, but not one of the common ones. I don't know, let's get some WDC, you know? Shit like that comes in sometimes, and I mean, I will take shit off the street just to get it off the street, and like, I will pull washers off shit. Like, I'm not a snob. I do know some shit's just junky Chinese shit that you can just throw away, but I'd rather get it out of their hands instead of seeing it go to somebody's house where they're tattooing.
Absolutely.
So like, you want 20 bucks? You want 20 bucks for 6 machines? Okay, here's 20 bucks. Give me the machines. We're like, look, garbage in the trash, or I'll make art out of them. It don't matter. You know, I glue them to a board, make a trophy out of them. Who knows?
Make a Game of Thrones throne out of them or some shit.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's still something, you know what I mean? As far as like, if you want to make art, I like making sculptures, so I could have some tattoo machines to work with there, but yeah, I mean, I got a bunch more machines, but I'll show you the ones up front are probably cooler than these. I do like my these two are daily runners. I did just go through yesterday because I'm getting ready to go to Europe, so I was putting all my. I always before I go to Europe, put all my machines, do an inventory, hide a bunch of shit, and tell my dudes like I just always panic no matter what. Like these are my daily runners. I don't want them to disappear, but I put them back up. You know. Yeah, you know, this one is, you know, this original coils too. Both of them are original coils, but Scott put that little piece of black tape in there. But I was so stoked to get this machine back. And Wayne knew it. He's like, can't believe it's running again. Like, he was stoked. Like, you know, that he got from Sailor Jerry from the shop, and somebody else mixed up and they gave me a little dose. Somebody else gave me this vintage Spalding Rogers ink, and then I get this other one. And so now I'm gonna put a little case together. But I'll still use that ink. It's great to use. There's nothing wrong with it. They gave me some Charlie Parsons ink from maybe like 90 something. Already mixed, so I'm gonna put a little case together of ink that I'm not gonna use on every single customer that comes in here. But if you're a tattoo collector, like, would you like some Sailor Jerry orange in your right? Like,
oh, that'd be crispy as shit.
Well, we'll do it with the Paul Rogers machine, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or a Sailor Jerry machine. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I like. That's a new thing. That how would I ever known that I was gonna start collecting vintage inks that were pre-mixed or mixed by somebody to like. I mean, that's new for me. Even I'm just like, okay, yeah, I dig it. I dig it way. I'll be like, you know what kind of orange that is, or kind of, I don't know. Like,
so now let me ask you this: what do you think the value is on like monetarily? Like, can you even buy that?
Yeah, can you get some more? Yeah, that's
you
the
know.
thing. It'd be like for a real tattoo lover, not for sale.
Yeah,
it's for the guy who's collecting. It's for the tattoo. It's for a tattoo collector, a tattoo collector. You know what I mean? Like, for special people,
right?
You know what I mean? Not for everybody. Like, cause if it's monetary value, it'd be like, what come in at $60 for a minimal tattoo, and it goes up from there. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I mean if someone were to want to buy,
you know,
a bottle like that.
Sissy Disler was selling some ink that Paul Rogers had given her, and she only had so much left, and she had it mixed up in little bottles. I think she was selling like either 1 ounce or 2 ounce bottles for $80 or $100, and she made a little case with it that came with it for like a little 4-pack or 5-pack. So, you know, it's not cheap.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're talking about like, let's see, I think there's 5 colors, 2 times 5 ounces for $100. It's not cheap.
But to start,
where are you going to get it again?
Yeah, where are you going to get it? That's the deal.
Maybe you could match up and take a color pigment, take it to some company and match it up, but it doesn't have the lineage. You know what I mean? Which kind of gives it a little mojo.
Right.
You know? Because, you know, that's what he was using when he was there. Castle, and pay attention to this because I got schooled because my friends have been in prison. I haven't. I went to college, and it's a single coil. Look, but it's not a rotary. They made a coil machine by wrapping this shit around this thing and fucking running. It'll run, but you see the razor blades on the end of it? Yeah. They use that to make their 9-pack. They wrap AA batteries around, and that's your contact on the top of the batteries and the bottom of the battery. So you make a little battery pack, and that thing will run like that with a little bitty tube. Yeah, I was schooled as hell. This guy worked for the Newcastle Reformatory, which is mostly pedophiles in that one. And they offered it to me. I was like, yeah, I'll give you a tattoo for that. $1,600. You know, I don't care. It came straight out of Indiana prison. I got a couple of them. The doorbell is another one of those doorbells that's similar to the fucking, what I was telling you about, the electric Getchell. This machine came off eBay, and I trimmed everything down off and rubbed it down. It's a Wagner style machine, but
Is it a Wagner style or is it a Wagner?
No, it's a Wagner style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a remake. I took it down, tried to rebuild it to like look a little better than it was. I had got like 2 or 3 machines off eBay for like $100, but the guy was a real turd ball. I guess he was making fake Paul Rogers and signing him off as real Paul Rogers, and people wanted to crack his fucking nuts in.
Yeah, no
So
shit.
I would sort of feel bad that I had some of the machines, but I would just like, I see a frame style I like for $100, I'll rebuild it up myself. Not a flat side, but this is that was built by Charlie Parsons, and this one is that's a Sailor Fred, I believe, and there's still some of those around, and somebody had rebuilt the chuck inside of that too. That was like gold color when I got it. I just redid this case the other day, the Dana Brunson hammer. This Dagger Girl, I do so many Dagger Girl tattoos. I just love having that one. That's a roundback, Jonesy roundback right there. In the back, kind of hard to see. If you can see the this animal marker right here, that thing's on like 8,000. It came out of Texas. When I was down there, my friend gave it to me. I tattooed him as like a tip, and like it's on 8,000. Can you imagine the cattle ranches on Texas? Like ching, 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 8,000 and something. That motherfucker's been used. I was like surprised how many numbers on there rotate around like that. And Sam Phillips made the independent machine. I don't know how the fuck he melts that fucking shit and casts it. And that's another one from off the streets, the marijuana. I always wanted one of the bent back girls too. Here, the tin can, which is the one I've seen. Okay, so I've seen the animal marker. I'm calling the animal marker this cat can or the tin can in the back. Mm-hmm. I've also seen it sold as just a regular tattoo machine,
Right.
with pamphlets. Like I had no idea. This one comes. You can see it's revolutionary new animal marker. But I've seen it sold as just a tattoo kit.
Now, did you get that one off eBay?
No. I bought that one off a person probably 8 or 9 years ago when they brought it in here. And I looked him up recently. I sent my friend because I got Shannon one. When I bought that other stuff from S&W from this guy Mike who got the stuff from Stan. Everybody talks shit on the dude. Whatever. I wanted this other animal marker, the plug-in one, just to go with the two. Just to have a pair. I mean, that's what came together. And I got Shannon the can too, but without the case and all that shit. I think we paid like $60 or $100 for them. Well, yeah, this has been a few minutes. And then on eBay not too long ago, we watched one sell for almost $1,000. And I sent it to Shannon because it's like, holy shit, dude! Like it's only been 3 years. Yeah, so I mean, I guess it just depends on who you're selling to and who's buying it. I think I'll just be straight up honest. This kit with the ink and the pamphlets, I think I got for $60 to $100.
Jiminy Christmas.
Same thing with the animal marker up here, but I only got just the marker. But I bought both of them too, and I bought a whole bunch of other shit off of him. So when you're buying a whole bunch, I'm paying $450 or $500 or $1,000 for everything, and so it's kind of you just have to trim it down in pieces. How much you actually paid for it? Not what they're going for. But I've never seen the metal. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't see too many of the plug-in ones. Have you? Things like vibrates. Yeah, the tin can, or that's the one I like anyway. I got one of these off of. I can't remember where I bought one of these off of. The other one I did get off this dude that sells them in Russia on Instagram. And the other one I bought off this other dude online, and I can't remember his name, but they're both fake. I got a whole bunch of those shavers too. I would like to start making those myself. You can just wind them up.
Yeah.
With them Russian prison style. That photo, I don't know if you can get pretty good ones. It's kind of like has a brown sepia tone to it. Mm-hmm. You see where Fred's getting tattooed? That's actually a Fred Clark photo stamped on the back. The one right next to it is Fred Clark and Randy Webb, but that's actually a Kobo photo. But Fred actually shot it in studio, but Kobo reshot it. They're less than 40 miles apart. When one dies, the guy starts putting out these catalogs, and then he moves to Florida. So, my theory is he bought the guy's collection when he died.
Sounds like it.
I mean, hey, look, we're photo guys. You're going to contact. In the 1960s, this photo shop is closed. This guy's got tons of tattoo photos. Is anybody interested to say if there's like we're photo people at that time to go to for like a classified ads? I'm assuming, right? And we're like, yeah, I'll take it. I got an idea. I can put together some portfolios with it and start selling like 10 photos of tattoo dudes for $50 mail order or 20, whatever the price is right then. And I just got this one off of Andy Bolin. That's Jimmy Gold, King of the Blackpool Tattooing, Jimmy Blackpool, and it was Jimmy Gold. And one of my favorite tattoo artists, Dave Heap, which I got tattooed by not too long ago. They called it King of the Lancashire style. And he was tattooed by him and says really heavily influenced by this dude. and that was his. You can see him tattooing with it right here. That was his Jonesy. This right here is Pat Martin Newick. On the back of that tiger, it tells you how he likes to put his flash laminated on black background with a little piece of plastic, but that was his bakelite machine. And a photo from him, tattoo that he'd done with some guy from Edmonton. And, this is an original Wagner machine that's been rebuilt with doorbell parts. And this is a Percy Waters machine. It's because they call it pre-stamp Percy Waters, which might have not been Percy Waters because he was buying other stuff, but they call it a pre-stamp. This came out of a mink farm in Wisconsin. That's an Andy Bolin Dietzel rebuild, but it's not quite right. There's Jensen rebuild this one. And then this one is Andy Bolin 2, which looks very similar to the Ferry machines. And then this one, I was positive it was a Jonesy, but I'm pretty positive it's a Zeiss Jonesy. And you kind of tell by the flange that's kind of coming off the bottom there where the crossbar comes from the back to the upright.
Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that. We're going to keep these things going. I've got a couple other people that I'm wanting to reach out to and do some more of these museum visits. A lot of the museums aren't open to the public. These are museums that guys are getting ready to open, or just private collections. I will be doing some private collections too that are not available to the public, so those will be really cool to see. Hopefully you've enjoyed this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We love that. And until next week, stay safe and keep collecting. Hey everybody, thanks for watching, and please hit the subscribe button down below and check out these videos. We worked real hard on these too, and I think if you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy those too.